everyone, I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. Sorry it's a little dark here. I am in downtown Calgary right now checking out the Glow Festival we've got going on right now. But today I've got an interesting show for you, something a little bit different. I was recently on the show of a guy by the name of Adam Meister, otherwise known as the Bitcoin Meister. And I was on a panel for a show that he always hosts called This Week in Bitcoin. We talked about a lot of stuff. I thought it was fair to share the love, and he was gracious enough to come on my show and let me ask him a few questions. We actually got into a lot of different topics here, and I had a lot of fun chatting with him. Please check out his channel. But here it is. Here is my interview with Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister. Enjoy. Hello everyone, I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. I am here in my home in Calgary, Alberta, and I am chatting with somebody today. His name is Adam Meister. He's also referred to as the Bitcoin Meister. Adam, thank you so much for being on. Can you let everybody know, I guess, who you are, what you do, where you're from, all that stuff?
Well, Ben, thank you for letting me be on the show today. It's awesome to be on different channels. I am Adam Meister. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. And what do? I do a lot of different things, but I got into cryptocurrency and back in, and we'll talk about this later, I'm sure, back in 2013. And I've been building it up since then, my interest, and it's like taken over like a huge part of my life. So this is my business now, basically, one of my main sources of income. And again, I'm a guy who works for himself. I think that's a good way to summarize who I am. So I don't have an employer, so I do get to dabble in a lot of different investment type of things, but the Bitcoin thing has just taken over. So I advise people to try to become independent like me, so you can work for yourself and you can say anything you want to say because you can't fire yourself. So I do some Bitcoin consultancy. I do obviously my videos I'm ramping that up. So there's a lot of different things.
Awesome. That's great. So I'm gonna throw a whole bunch of questions at you here. So I'd say my audience is primarily newcomers to Bitcoin. I try to give them a simplistic, bare bones approach to how to get started with Bitcoin, understanding simple concepts, working with wallets, things like that. So I'm just going to kind of go through and highlight, I guess, maybe some of your journey through Bitcoin, some of the things that you've been through, and how that has come to fruition. So I'm going to start with something simple here. How did Bitcoin and cryptocurrency first catch your eye? When did you first notice it? You said 2013, but what about it caught your eye, and why did you get interested?
Well, I guess I first really noticed it like the year before. I think it was 2012. It might have even been 2011. I was exploring and learning about anarcho-capitalism, and it really was intriguing, this free market stuff. And it was kind of my views on life in general started changing. So I was watching a lot of anarcho-capitalism videos on YouTube, and some people were mentioning this Bitcoin thing, and at first I didn't pay much attention. It seemed like it was technologically difficult. And it wasn't easy to purchase, and I just said, I'll see what happens. And so everyone's got a story that's similar to this. So months go by, and then the next time you hear about it in 2013 is like it's surging, and you're like, oh, I wish I would have done that back then. So it was at that point, at the end of 2013, when Coinbase was already set up and it was easy for an American to purchase Bitcoin, that I made my first purchase. I guess it was around November of 2013. And there were a lot of people making their first purchases then because it was surging. Now I only got I think I got two, and I paid like 600 some a piece for each one, which was, in the long, it looks great now. And then a few days later, it was up to 1,000. Then it crashed back. It was a wild time. So that's how I got into it, from anarcho-capitalism. But then once I was into Bitcoin, then I started obviously exploring the Bitcoin side of things more and more, and became very interested.
Awesome. That's really cool. So At what point along your journey of learning about Bitcoin did you think, okay, I want to make a show? The reason I ask this is because there are, I find very few or not nearly enough public figures and speakers in the Bitcoin space that have that, I guess, just natural way to speak and capture somebody's attention. And that's why I like your videos, because you come on your show and hey, it's Adam Meister, and it's engaging. And so at what point did you piece together, hey, maybe this would work out well for me? And why did you start your show? What was the reason for starting your show, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Okay, that's a great question. I've actually never been asked that before. It was kind of an evolution. I've taken a few steps back. I mentioned Baltimore at the beginning of this the first question, and I have had a YouTube channel for a little while, and I had made some Baltimore related videos, so I was very familiar with making videos and how to upload them and everything. And so after that first initial taste of Bitcoin, and like when I started really researching it, I decided to make a Bitcoin video, and it is still up there. It's from the end of 2013. So that's when I decided. I said I had to tell the world about this. That was my first move. Like, I've got to tell, but I wasn't thinking like, well, I'm gonna keep on making them. Which is like, it might have been a one-off thing, I thought at the time. Well, after really getting a little bit more intense and reading about it more into 2014, I thought, now I feel comfortable making videos about this. So I would make one every once in a while, and I thought it was going well and everything. And the Baltimore videos weren't going that well anymore. It's a very limited. Some people just don't care that much about Baltimore, and so but then into 20. So again, it wasn't the Bitcoin Meister show yet at that point. Then into 2015 is when I started traveling around to conferences. And so as I became more intense into Bitcoin, then I had more to say about Bitcoin. So I was making more videos. So by 2015, I'm used to making video. I'd go on spurts. I'd make a few in a month, and then I went and make some, and then so it was, I guess, God, at the end of 20. People can all look, I don't erase any of my videos. That's a very important thing to remember. And I advise everyone not to do that, because it's great to admit that you made mistakes before, see how you evolved. But I think it was, God, what was it? Yeah, it was definitely end of 2015. I was getting real intense into it. Yeah. And I made like a conscious decision. I got to make more and more of these. And then finally, in the beginning of 2016, I'm like, I'm going to make one every single day now. So at that point, it was like a total, this is a big thing. I want to build it. And by the middle of 2016, I was like, okay, I noticed the lack of marketing out there also. This is a place people have to step into. I really want to step up here and be the best show possible. And so there's the evolution. There's no like exact moment where I said I'm turning it on, but it as I grew more and more intense into the space, the videos got more and more intense, and finally I decided there's got to be one every day, and this is my thing now.
Yeah, and you can see obviously the passion come through, that it's something that you're truly interested in because of, well, number one, the frequency of content coming out of you. I imagine it's tough to get out a video every single day, because you got to set aside time for that, let alone, when you're talking about making the video itself, but you also have to figure out who's going to be involved and figure out what content you're talking about. So it seems like you're putting time and effort into all of your stuff, and you're consistent with it. And I think that's why your viewership is continuing to go up. I see you got past 3,000 subs recently, I believe. You're somewhere in that realm. Is that right?
Yes. And I have two comments about that. You make these videos, the logistics, it's the logistics that take a while to set up. Like for me, I could make many videos a day probably. I've got a lot of topics in my head. So the talking part comes real easily. I can just go on and on and on. But it's just the logistic, you know, uploading, and that takes time. And so, yeah, I've noticed I'm like at 3,200 or something like that. Subscribers, I don't do any of the cheap stuff. Like, I don't talk about gambling. I don't talk about cloud mining. There's some people that'll have shows about cloud mining, gambling. If anyone wants to start a Bitcoin channel and have a lot of subscribers, a lot of mindless subscribers, just talk about gambling and cloud mining, and you will get more subscribers than I have, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm very proud of all of my subscribers, because they're people who have discovered me by whatever means and are into important topics. Are real top. They're not trying to make quick bucks here. This is not a scamming channel or anything like that. I don't use headlines like, some people are just make headline after headline, $1 million Bitcoin coming soon, $1 billion Bitcoin. I mean, be true to yourself, and you will get a real following of loyal supporters, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm curious is, as you were learning about Bitcoin, you mentioned that when you first looked at it, it looked kind of technologically difficult to grasp. What did you find was your biggest hurdle to get over? What were some of the biggest sticking points as you were trying to figure out and wrap your head around it? What did you find difficult to grasp, or what was a big roadblock in your, I guess, evolution of learning about Bitcoin?
Well, I think at first, when I didn't jump into it at first, that the big roadblock, and this was a while ago, at the time, there was a lot of technical mumbo jumbo being spouted. And when you're not a technical guy, when you come from a marketing background, that can just totally turn you off to the entire thing. So I think that is what happened at first. Also, at that time, there were no easy ways to buy Bitcoin. There was no Coinbase. And so that was obviously a turnoff. Now, some people find themselves still in that situation today, because they don't know that there are easy ways to buy Bitcoin. And the reason they don't know is because they hear the technical mumbo jumbo at first, and it just scares them away to diving just a little bit different and deeper and finding Coinbase. So that's what I like about your channel, is that you're presenting. In our little Bitcoin bubble, people take so much for granted, but most people in the world are not technical people, and they just want an easy way to buy. They just want an easy, simple explanation of what everything means, and it's very helpful. Once you know these easy things, you can become intense very fast. After that, you can become very knowledgeable. But if you're freaked out by the technical mumbo jumbo, you're never going to learn. So technical mumbo jumbo was definitely a huge obstacle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. And I guess that was part of the reason that I started putting my channel together, just recognizing that there's a lot of very, very intelligent people involved in cryptocurrency, like all of the whole cryptocurrency realm. But it's not always easy to communicate without scaring people away. So I think that's what's good about having easily accessible content online, and I think we'll see a lot more of it in the future. So I guess with that, I'm curious, from when you started with Bitcoin, how have you seen the landscape change? Like you were saying, you were just talking about, there was no Coinbase, there was no easy on-ramps. It was just all technical babble that was hard to understand. What have you seen change in the past, say, 3-4 years since you've been around?
Well, there's some better sites out there that are able to explain it to people. There are a lot more YouTube channels where people are talking about it. That these are all very positive developments. So if it's not ready, it's not mainstream ready yet, unfortunately. But it's taken a few steps toward becoming more mainstream ready. There's some notable personalities out there that aren't 100% technical now. I think back then it seemed like everyone that was into it was very just talking on a very technical level. And now you can find plenty of people who are talking about whether you want to get into the trading aspect of it. Also, the altcoin space has grown and become more vibrant, I'd say. And if you, and I just tell people to buy Bitcoin, but now you kind of, with the altcoins, kind of teach people what cryptocurrencies can be. Like there's anonymous cryptocurrencies. Like back then, a lot of the altcoins that were coming out were just Bitcoin again. They just, so there'd be a second Bitcoin. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Litecoin did a very good job with that, but you can't have 100 different 50 different Litecoins. So the whole cryptocurrency, the altcoin space has definitely grown. Now there have been some negatives too. And one of them is just that there's a lot more scams. It's just the intensity of the cloud mining scammers just spreading the word. I mean, it's a free world. They can do what they want to do, but there's a lot of new people who get into it who think like the only way you can get Bitcoin is by mining it. And these guys kind of almost reinforce that. Like they leave out the easiest option. Like if you want Bitcoin, just buy it at Coinbase. I mean, it's that simple. But there's a lot more scams out there that add a lot more confusion. So that has also changed, and that's a negative. So there have been positives and there have been negatives, and it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with actually the last video I made was to do with a lot of the scams. Actually, you gave that one a shout out, so thank you for that. But yeah, there's, the cloud mining thing. It's just, I don't think people realize that it's just largely not profitable. You're not going to see your initial investment back, regardless of the fact that you start to get money back. That diminishes over time. And I go through and I delete just so many comments every video, and it's again, it's lucky that most of them get caught and they get flagged in advance for me to approve. But yeah, just, I mean, even just before we came on here, I was going through and I was deleting just garbage that, like double your Bitcoins instantly. That's not how it works. When's the last time somebody came up to you and said, here, give me $10, I'll give you a 20? That's not, it doesn't make any sense. So yes, I would definitely agree with that. But yeah, I mean, the good comes with the bad, and as with any technology, good people are going to use it, but bad people will use it too. So you just gotta be careful. So I guess with the changing landscape that we've been talking about, what are some things that you see, some I guess new developments or new tech that you see on the horizon that you think looks exciting or could have huge potential? Is there anything on your radar right now?
Well, the segregated witness Lightning Network. Right now, Bitcoin, the transaction fees at times when a lot of people are using it it's a little higher than people expected it to be. It used to be, that's another thing that's changed. The fees used to be around like 6 cents. 7 cents to send any transaction. Now we have days when it's 40 cents. And so this issue of sending smaller transactions, like you send $1 to a friend and you pay 40 cents to send $1 to a friend, that's not good. So the segregated witness, the simple explanation is going to solve that and speed up. Also, a lot of transactions are taking a lot of time to go through. So if this segregated witness is adopted by Bitcoin, it will fix these problems, apparently. Mm-hmm. And I think there'll be a lot less FUD about Bitcoin, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So that's what I'm all about, the technology that can change what the mainstream thinks about Bitcoin, to get rid of some of these weird rumors and everything like that. So I think segregated witness is something to keep an eye on. It's going to take a while to get it adopted, but we shall see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that that will be adopted as well. I mean, I'm of the mind that regardless, if Bitcoin were to stay exactly the same as it is now, it still will fill a role eventually as just an immutable store of value and value transfer. But I'm hopeful that I think segregated witness is incredible technology. For any of the viewers that are unfamiliar, this is just it's a change to the code, or rather an addition to the current code of Bitcoin that would just allow additional layers to be built on top of Bitcoin to up the number of transactions that we can do per second. Basically bringing it to possibly a Visa level, I guess, network and beyond. That being said, there are other there is another subset of people that are pushing for a different solution that would, instead of initially making a small change and adding layers upon Bitcoin, would take the core protocol and make a change there. And so there's a little bit of a divide there as far as this goes. But I think over time, even if neither of these were to get enough traction, I honestly think, and this is coming from somebody who's not a coder, but I honestly think that there's a lot of smart people working behind the scenes, and that solutions will be found. I don't think it's just going to come to a standstill here. So I don't know if you agree with me on that, but
I agree with you on that. Actually, I think if both options, they don't come about, that will actually be fine, first of all, and there'll be a solution. But I don't see, a lot of people are like saying, well, I can't buy coffee with my Bitcoin. How many people are trying to buy coffee with their Bitcoin currently? I mean, how big of a problem is this? And are we trying to solve something that's not a problem? And are we so as I said, if it doesn't get fixed, quote unquote fixed, I think Bitcoin as a store of value is a great thing. You're transferring it. There are people in so many countries that are just trying to get their money out of the country, trying to get their value out of the country. It serves that fine. People don't care if they have to pay 10 cents or 50 cents, or if it takes a minute or it takes an hour. They just want to, get their money out of the country. So it's very useful as is right now, I'd say. So I'm in no panic about if none of them get passed again. But if SegWit does get passed, it gets rid of some of the FUD. It's a marketing thing. It's positive for the community. It looks good. So I'm very much into marketing and creating a positive message. So
yeah, I'd agree with you there, and I think we'll see as it develops. But if I haven't been scared off since being in Bitcoin, then a little bit of we're not sure how we're going to scale yet isn't about to scare me out the door either. So let's move on a little bit here. Speaking of how people use Bitcoin, I'm curious, how do you currently use Bitcoin? Do you just hold it? Do you ever spend it? If you do, what do you spend it on? Do you use it? I see you're traveling right now. You're in Portugal, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
In Lisbon.
So I'm curious if you use it in your travels. Like, what is Bitcoin used in Adam's world at the moment?
Well, I am in Lisbon, Portugal right now. So if anybody is a Bitcoin fan in Lisbon, Portugal, and a few have gotten in touch with me, let's talk. I'd love to put on an event here, actually. And I'll be here till April, actually, at the beginning of April. But to answer the question, I just buy and hold. For me, it is a store of value. I have never sold my Bitcoin. I don't buy things with my Bitcoin. I believe strongly that this is going up in value. And I have created a mindset where if I'm ever going to sell, I have to wait until the 2020 Bitcoin halving. And I tell people the same thing, just keep 2020 in mind. So when you see these ups and downs, you don't care, because in 2020 it's going to be worth more than it is today. So, and it's a helpful mindset to have. It keeps people from panicking. They have a strong hand, not a weak hand, because so many people that, it'll crash down to $900 tomorrow, let's say, and people will just sell it off, and then they'll be back to 1,000. They can't get back in again, or they'd have to, they'd lost money. But why worry about the ups and downs when you're just thinking long term, 2020, increase your time horizon. 2020, the Bitcoin halving is going to take place. Celebrate then, sell then if you want to sell. So that's what I am. I just hold. And, I'm sure there could be some intense situation where I would be, if it went up to $10,000 tomorrow or something just totally insane, then yeah, I would have to reconsider the policy a little bit now.
Yeah.
But we're talking in the real world possibilities here. It's just I have not sold. No, I am a buy and hold guy. Buy and hold guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of a little bit of both. So, well, I have my HODL shirt, which new Bitcoiners might not quite understand why hold is misspelled, but look it up, you'll find out. But anyways, I do buy and hold, but I think largely because of the channel now, I also experiment a lot with new technologies, and so it was really fun. I just got back from an extended trip where I was gone for 5 months through a whole bunch of different countries, and I was able to use a lot of different, so like Bitcoin Visa cards where you can send Bitcoin and get it instantly transferred onto a physical card that you can use anywhere. I was able to use, I think the most impressive one was in the Philippines, coins.ph, and it was like an app, and you could top up your mobile phone, and you could send money and then go to an ATM, and without having to even have a bank account or a debit card, you could just put in a code into the ATM and take out cash via Bitcoin. So there's I use it to see what possibilities are on the horizon. And I think that's really cool to do, but largely I try not to spend it too much anymore, because I look back to even a few years ago, like even 2 years ago, and I think, wow, I bought a lot of $25 coffees with Bitcoin. So it does add up, and you think back and you look at one of the first purchases. I think it was the first purchase ever. Didn't somebody buy 2 Papa John's pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, something like that?
Oh, it was something intense like that. It was something. Yes, and when you look back at an old transaction you made, if you bought something, exactly what you said. Oh, I paid $25 for that coffee. Whoa, wait, what was I thinking? But
yeah, and it's the opposite when you think of your regular national currency. You're like, oh, well, I may as well get rid of the money that's gonna be worth half as much down the road, as opposed to the money that could potentially be exponentially more valuable. So now I've kind of taken a mindset where I'm in a position where now I get paid, I'd say a third of my wages, maybe a quarter of my wages I'll get in Bitcoin sometimes. But then the rest of it that I get in my local currency, I'll use that to pay for all my bills. And then I'll save everything that's in Bitcoin, just because I recognize, well, if I save Canadian dollars, then it's just I have to somehow beat inflation just to come out on the level. Whereas if I hold Bitcoin, then basically at any point in history, had I bought Bitcoin, I would either be even or up. So I think that's kind of my tactic at the moment too.
Yeah, that's a very good tactic. One thing that I left out about buying and holding and not selling, in the United States, when you sell, it's a taxable event. So then you're going to have to deal with taxes, and that's not fun. Who wants to complicate? We're talking about, there's some young guys out there that are day trading. Well, guess what, young American guys that are day trading, every single time you sell, that's a taxable. You have to record that, and if the IRS finds out you're doing that, they're going to have some questions for you if you get audited. Now, I'm not saying they're auditing all the Bitcoin people out there, but eventually they'll get around to picking on some people. And you're not going to want to be that dude. You're not going to want to be audited by that. So why even get into all that kind of things and it's when you're trading Bitcoin, there's no guarantee you're going to be profitable. You know, day trading Bitcoin is like day trading anything else. I talked to a guy, someone I knew, he said that, you know, I used to know a lot of day traders 10 years ago. And then now I ask them what they're doing. They're like, it just wasn't my thing. It isn't, people don't last. They get burnt out. It doesn't work. So these guys that are trading Bitcoin right now, that think they're day trading Bitcoin, they think this is sustainable. It's not. You get burnt out mentally, and if the tax thing is not a fun thing, and maybe there are a lot of young guys that don't pay taxes. I mean, I don't know what their things. I don't like when I have to pay. I don't like come around when April comes along and I have to do my taxes. And why complicate matters? Why worry?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be one of the confusing points moving forward is how Bitcoin is treated from country to country. Because in Canada right now, it's treated as a currency. And we're lucky enough that Andreas Antonopoulos, anybody unfamiliar, he's one of I'd say the top Bitcoin speaker. But he spoke to our Senate, and the Canadian Senate basically said, this is very promising and we're taking a hands-off approach, which that's fantastic, but it's not the case everywhere, right? And in the States, when it's defined as a commodity, then you're right, you get taxed when you sell. So yeah, you definitely got to pay attention to that. So it's especially in places like the US, it's better to hold it. It's better to take the Warren Buffett approach. Even though he's not big on Bitcoin, you know, his approach was always never sell. He would just hold on for years and years and years. And that's where he made his money, right?
Yeah.
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 Anyways, let's move on from there. I guess my question is, because we're talking about you buying and holding. So I guess my question here is, what do you see the role of Bitcoin? What would you say the role of Bitcoin currently is, and how do you think that could change over time?
Right now, the two uses that I keep on encountering are just people who are into traditional investments who just want to have a new store of value. So as a store of value, to beat the dollar, which is being inflated, they want to get in something that's deflationary. Okay, so and that's usually a more mature audience, actually, that are very concerned about storage. And we'll get into that because we'll talk about that later, because I'm into the Bitcoin Trezor. The other use case, well, I guess there are three. Then there are people that are just trading it, which isn't like a real thing, but hey, that's what's going on. They're just speculating. They're speculating. The third aspect is people on the black market, gray market, people using it to buy drugs and other things that countries say are illegal. And those people are willing to pay quite a premium for the Bitcoin too, from what I've heard. So how do I see that evolving over time? Well, I think more and more people are going to get into it for the store of value aspect. I think more and more traditional investment people who have IRAs, 401ks, buy stocks and bonds, they're going to jump into Bitcoin. And maybe because of this upcoming ETF, that might be the spark. Who knows? I don't think the ETF is going to get approved, but that's a completely different story. So I see more mature investors coming into the getting hold of Bitcoin. So that's the next step I see coming along. Obviously, there are going to be people building all sorts of technologically advanced things with Bitcoin. I really hope for a killer app soon. Mm-hmm. I foresee that happening. I really do foresee something that everyone can grasp and understand happening. I can't predict when that's going to happen, but that will be huge, because the internet existed before there were browsers. I mean, you had to get in on the news groups. Once they created Netscape, I mean, it was a whole nother level of internet interaction. People were able to understand it more, and it was more user friendly. So I expect there to be something similar to come about with it. We're very early on in Bitcoin. It is like 1993 or 1994.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so what I'd like to ask you now is, I whenever I talk with somebody, I like to ask just a few basic things regarding to, I guess, regarding what new users may be interested in. So my first question is always, what's your day-to-day go-to Bitcoin wallet? What do you love as like a mobile wallet?
Well, for me, it's an offline storage device called a Bitcoin Trezor. That is where I keep my Bitcoin. That's what I do, because it is safe and your private key is protected. So that's my go-to thing. Now I know, and it costs money. It costs $99 to buy. So some people are hesitant because they don't have even that much in Bitcoin. So I just tell people, if you're getting close to owning 2 Bitcoin, which is now like $2,000, over $2,000, you might want to have insurance. And the insurance that you get is just buying this offline storage device, a Bitcoin Trezor. Now, for new people, before I got into the Trezor, obviously, if I bought it on Coinbase, I saved some of it on Coinbase at first, and they have the vault. They say they put in the cold storage. It's pretty trustworthy. I mean, blockchain.info. I like their online wallet. That seems very trustworthy, and I have used that before. So for people who don't have a lot of money, play around with blockchain.info, and it's good that once you buy on Coinbase, set up a blockchain.info wallet also, and you can send things back and forth, and you get used to sending Bitcoin. I mean, it's a way to I kind of did something like that when I first got into Bitcoin. I was sending stuff just to see that I could do it, and you get like a eureka moment, like, oh wow, this is easy. It's easy to send Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's definitely important for everybody to try out try out different wallets, because the more you familiarize yourself with it, the more pieces of software that you use, the more you realize, okay, there's a basic formula to how things work. So it's nice and easy to, okay, now I know what my wallet address is. I know how to scan a QR code, things like that. Just getting those basics down using anything is great. So I guess I was going to say, what are your security measures? But Trezor, your Trezor, is it Trezor or Trezor? I don't know.
Anyway, it's pronounced many different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But I mean, that's your security measure. It's a secondary piece. Oh, there's my cat saying hi in the back. Anyways, it's a piece of hardware that allows you to secure your Bitcoin, to secure your funds. It's just a secondary security measure, and it's been tried and tested by quite a few people, and it's I have not tried the Trezor yet. That's on my list of things to give a try. So I was looking online, but there's a back order of them, so I'm gonna have to wait a little bit. But I have tried a couple. I've tried a couple of Ledger's products. I've tried the Keep Key, and they're all great. Great items, and just it's worth it to invest in something if you're holding any amount of value that you would be upset losing, right?
Yes, that's a really good way of summing it up. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I've got a couple more questions for you. As far as the newbie stuff goes, if you could give one piece of advice to somebody who is new to Bitcoin, what would that be?
Oh, wow. What would it be? Just patience. Be patient. Don't do anything. What's the word I'm looking for here?
Sporadically.
Not spontaneous. God, I'm drawing a blank. I'm a little tired. A lot of people, not spontaneous, just without thinking. What's the word I'm thinking of? Oh my God. Anyway, always just be calm.
Yeah.
At all points, don't jump into thing. There's no easy answers in life. So don't try to do things with your Bitcoin just to do things with your Bitcoin. You know, get into investments. It's better. You're better off just keeping it simple, keeping it simple with your Bitcoin. And that's a good way of summing it up, I guess. Keep it simple with your Bitcoin. Just but learn. Try, you know, watch videos and stuff like that. But definitely, try to keep it simple.
And I get what you're saying, because a lot of people, they'll get into Bitcoin and then they'll be convinced that they have to find all these other additional schemes to somehow get more Bitcoin, when in the long run, anybody that I've spoken to, the most prudent way to conserve their wealth and be a successful I guess Bitcoin owner is just to hold on to it. You know, like, you don't need to get into dropping money on these cloud mining schemes. You don't need to be looking up Bitcoin doubling sites and trying to find a way to magically get more money. Nobody's going to give you money for free. You know, you do have to, if you want Bitcoin, then you buy it. That's probably the easiest and best way, or earn it, right?
Yes, earn it. Try to earn it. Now, there is a second line of advice I should tell people. Do not leave your Bitcoin on an exchange. If you get to the point where you are trading your Bitcoin, you're trying to buy maybe altcoins with your Bitcoin, don't leave your Bitcoin on an exchange. These exchanges can get hacked. There have been major hacks in the past. Another line of advice is don't get caught up in FUD, in fear, and doubt, and whatever, uncertainty, and help clear up rumors. Because, you know, when these exchanges got hacked, some people are like, Bitcoin got hacked. Well, that's not true. Try to fight rumors like that, because that just makes if you openly fight rumors, if you tell people what's really going on, it just makes the community better. It makes it stronger. It makes your investment stronger. So those are things to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I've got one final question for you, and this, you can take this as deeply as you like. What does Bitcoin represent for you?
Well, for me, it's that money is not a crime. Money is not a crime. A lot of people try to say, well, you can't have your own private money, or it's money of drug dealers. No, that's not what money was never. This is freedom of speech we're talking about here. Money is not the thing that commits crimes. It's what people use money for. And I think Bitcoin is going to show the world that this is, we need to think of money differently. Governments shouldn't bar people from taking value out of their country. And Bitcoin is going to be the key to getting their money out of their countries. It's going to be they're the ones committing the crime when you say, oh, you can only do X, Y, Z with your money. That's not right at all. To say you can only do X, Y, Z with your money. There are so many countries out there where, you cannot get your money out of that country. And it's not because of technology, it's because of rules of the government. So Bitcoin is going to show the world that money is not a crime, because if people just get into Bitcoin, they don't have to worry about what the government has to say about them getting their Mozambique money out of Mozambique. No, it's Bitcoin. Money is not a crime. So that's what Bitcoin is, like a tool of freedom, I guess. I'm getting a little bit more into depth now. But it's a powerful tool that is going to change the way people think about money, and really change the way governments have to act toward their people.
Yeah, I love that point, actually. When you think about bringing money across borders, and you get on a plane and you have that little form that you fill out, are you holding more than $10,000 worth with you? At what point? Well, the Bitcoin really blurs that line, right? Because at this point, you can memorize 12 words, and technically, just by knowing those 12 words, you can have access to millions of dollars. So if that money only exists as 12 words in your brain, and you cross a border, are you now the money? So it has completely changed how we have to think about money, and it's turned money into communication completely. So we have to re-examine how we currently do things. That's for sure. And I like disruption like that. So Adam, I want to say thank you so much for being on. It's been a pleasure. I guess recently met you for the first time on your show last week, and I was so happy that you would be on today. Can you tell people where they can find you, all of the places that they can check you out?
Yeah, just you can find me obviously by looking up Bitcoin Meister on YouTube, but an easy way to see all my videos is you just type in disruptmeister.com and it'll take you to my YouTube page. So that's easy to remember. I'm a big disruptor. We were talking about disruptmeister.com. You can also email me at adam@trezorhelp.com. Now, people are probably thinking, well, what you were just talking about this Trezor thing, trezorhelp.com. So what I do is I have a little business going on, a consultancy, should we say, where people buy these Bitcoin Trezors to store their Bitcoin on. But a lot of the people are newbies and it's hard to set up. It isn't easy to set up at all. So people come to me and I walk them through the process over the phone. And they're very appreciative of it because, hey, in the end of the day, they're trying to store 40 Bitcoin. Now they know they're doing it safely, and it's quite a relief. So if you're interested, and I also, people have talked to me about just cryptocurrency in general, getting general consultations, my thoughts. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, email me, adam@trezorhelp.com, or you can just email me if you just want to talk about anything. If you have questions, I answer all sorts of questions, but I do recommend the Bitcoin Trezor. Look into it. It's good, and I'm glad you've experimented with KeepKey too. I've tried to get in touch with those guys. I haven't really been able to yet, but it's very interesting. Very interesting stuff.
Awesome. Well, Adam, again, thank you so much for being on. And to everybody watching, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Go check out Adam's channel. I'm going to link to it below, and I'll maybe link to one of the other videos in the cards here. Yeah, drop a tip if you're able to, and share this video. Adam, thanks. Have a fantastic rest of your time in Portugal.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be on the show today.
Awesome. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.